This is my hooptie day one of purchasing, and this is after putting in a lot of elbow grease and effort to get it to where it is today.
Hello and welcome. My name is Parker and this is Project Red Mage, a 1991 Nissan 240sx with about 219,000 miles on it. My number one goal with this car is to make it a street build to where I can reliably go get coffee runs, take it on dinner dates, and maybe the occasional track use. And keep in mind that this build is going to be in the budget. Where it is today, there were several things that I needed to address from the time that I got it. Number one is it had a horrible tune, so I absolutely invested the money to get a proper tune so I don't have to worry about the engine is blowing up. Oh, and by the way, it's got a 1JZ inside, which is freaking sweet. Two, because it has a 1JZ inside, it was constantly plagued with cooling problems, even with the factory turbo. To address that, I 3D printed some items like a cooling duct, air duct, installed an oil cooler, and other little trinkets to make this thing reliable. And lastly, because it has a leaking rack that was pretty much going at the rate of the Niagara Falls, I decided to replace the entire rack. And while I was there, I did the entire front end rebuild because it was definitely steering like a boat. With all those things accomplished, still a long list of things to do, like some suspension creak, the leaking oil from the engine, and then the creature comforts on the interior. Before we get to any of those things, we need to make this car street legal. And in order to do that, we need to install turn signals, make the horn work, refurbish the brakes, and last but not least, secure the battery so it doesn't hit my noggin while I'm driving. Yeah! Get to work.
First things first, one of the things that we do need to get installed in order to pass the safety inspection is turn signals. I know this sounds silly, I know this isn't building 1,000 horsepower, but it is functional. It is a way to communicate to the other drivers. It has that stupid blinker right there that just goes brum, 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 brum. That's super irritating. I just want to get it fixed, corrected, and installed. Now, the challenge here is to get the turn signal housings that mount to the Type X bumper. These are like 500 bucks. Yeah, these are 500 bucks. And I'm just trying to think to myself, all the other things that I could probably buy with $500 instead of just buying these two stupid pieces of plastic to get them going. Now, the other challenge is that if I was to go down the factory route, it would be blocking my oil cooler duct that I designed and fit behind the front wheel well. So automatically, that is out. The next option is, why not design and 3D print some custom housings so that they are exactly to my specifications? Wait. How much is a P1P Bamboo Lab printer? It's the same price. This is a no-brainer. Just get the printer. And just full transparency, right? No plug. I bought this printer with my own money, and I've always wanted to learn how to 3D model and design parts. This is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and build something custom that I want and not spend $500 and cry. You guys up, there are several things that I used in order to get these scans. One, I use my phone. I don't use any kind of crazy 3D scan technology. There's an app that's called Polycam that I just downloaded. Does a pretty good job of capturing of what I need to work on. There are some things that I do need to double check and measure, right, to ensure that whatever it is that I'm building is actually going to fit. Overall, it has never let me down, and it's much more affordable than, say, going out and spending money on a $1,200 scanning system. I do also use Blender. It is free. There is a significant ramp-up curve, and I am still what I would consider a novice, rely heavily on YouTube and forums to guide and give me any kind of details that I may be running a snag on, right? That being said, you can see on the screen that is just a mock-up of a Type X replica. Doesn't fit very well. I even try to flip it upside down to see if there's any way that I could try to save it, and no go. So custom build it is. You saw what it looks like, just kind of hanging out there, laying on the bottom of the bumper. But what does it actually look like whenever it is floating center? So, and I scanned one side of the turn signal, and from a mock-up perspective, this is what it's going to look like. Have them sitting right around here, or maybe just a little bit to the right, because we can see that the intercooler pipe right here has got a very real potential of getting in the way. Because if I do a movement of the light the well, no, right here is where the clearance between the intercooler pipe and the actual turn signal is going to be kind of iffy. Yeah, it's going to be iffy, especially because this is just a mirror of the right turn signal. So on the left hand side, this one is going to be, I believe, or this pigtail is going to be on this side over here. So we're going to run into issues with clearance. I think that this is the way to go. Just because you can get like a really interesting design just going right here, like whoosh, and go whoosh. Let's play around with that, see where that takes us. All right, so here we have combo number 1, which is taking design cues from the OEM Type X housing. Not sure how I feel about this. It feels a little elementary. So this is combo number 2, and I feel better about this. It feels like it flows, and yeah, I don't know. This is combo number 2. What do you think? Combo number 1 or combo number 2? Going with combo number 2 and fine-tuning a little bit of the details, we're getting closer to what the design is going to look like. This is the way we're going to go with. I want to continue to fine-tune this, add a little bit of different pieces. I still need to add like a little angular cut for the housing, and then the next step would be to 3D print this, put it onto the car, see what the fitment looks like, if it's whack or if it's spot on. Quick note here, when I first got into 3D modeling and 3D printing, I was really intimidated by the learning curve. And I will say that getting this specific printer made it super easy. I would equate this to getting into the Apple ecosystem, that the interface is very easy to use, and it was the same exact thing for the 3D printer. All right, moment of truth. What do you think? Is it going to fit? You can see that I put the top one in already. It's snug as a bug, and then here is the bottom. You can see that there is a little bit of a protrusion. You hook it into that corner there. All right, so far so good. It's actually a little bit loose. It's all right, we'll have to correct that. Perfect, a little too short. Yeah, it's too short. Dang it. I think it's still pretty snug in here. Yeah. Nice. Oh, it's pretty freaking good. All right, place your bets. Is it going to fit? Or is it not? It is not. This is our first try. This is a great start. I'm pretty hyped on this. We saw the prototype being mounted onto the bumper. As a first go, it actually fit pretty well, but there are some issues with design. Firstly, is that whenever we insert the turn signal into the housing, there are these little prongs over here that are designed to go into the housing and turn to lock it in. So it doesn't actually go in all the way. The second portion of it, whenever the light is actually in the turn signal housing, it doesn't go all the way through here. You can see that basically that this portion right here is too thick. So we need to trim this back. My idea is that I will 3D scan the backside of the turn signal housing to just get an understanding of all the little nuances and the topography of the external housing here, and then see what I need to do in the actual design to make it fit like a glove. So let's go ahead and do that. Because I film everything using my iPhone, I needed to demonstrate how I actually capture my 3D scans. Again, I'm using an app called Polycam. I'm using my phone and slowly moving around the object that is capturing thousands of pictures, and then it stitches everything together to give you the model on the left-hand side there. All right. Taking into account all the little design enhancements that needed to make, I also wanted to include slits in the model just to be able to have the air go through, especially in the right-hand side where I have the oil cooler. Additionally, this is just a mock-up. I quickly spray painted it just to get an idea of what it would look like on the car, of what the final version is. An interesting aspect is I've never really considered that whenever designing parts, you make it, print it, fit it, make it, print it, fit it, and just repeat the cycle until you get a really honed in and finished product. What you were seeing there was just a quick spray paint model to adapt it to make sure I was happy with the modifications, and then I again reprinted it. Because the 3D printer doesn't always necessarily make a clean print, you do need to use a little bit of a trick to fill all the little gaps, sand it down so the end product looks good. And I'm by no means an expert. I'm still learning as I'm going, and I'm sure that as I get more experience, my prints are going to look better and better. Let's do a little bit of multitasking here. I was trying to figure out why my blinker was going boom, 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 and appears to be the culprit is because there are two different light bulbs within the actual sockets. I didn't know that this could potentially cause the blinker to wig out on you. So the trick was to figure out the compatible part number. It's that Sylvania 921. You get that bad boy, plug it in, and all your blinker woes go away. With the turn signals working, I do need to now tackle installing horns. It is not fun driving around in a street without letting people know that they are in the way, so let's get that corrected. And surprisingly, this can be a tricky fix. Wiring is probably one of those ethereal things that you just have to try to understand conceptually, so I hope this helps anybody in the future to troubleshoot why their horns may not be working.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, that's one less thing I have to worry about.
Alright, this is my spaghetti wire test station. Don't mind it. I'm just trying to make sure that I am troubleshooting things correctly. See, when I press horn, it does nothing.
And we already have one fuse.
I did use a similar type of fuse to plug into the horn. What I'm doing here is just checking the voltage to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the actual current between the fuse box and the relay. And same thing here is I need to close the circuit to make sure that I can check if it's getting any voltage through the power wire to the horns. If it's reading 0 volts, that means there's a problem somewhere between the relay and the horn. And guess what it was reading? That's right, 0.
Well, that was easy. The relay's gone.
We know that this socket, I don't know what this is called, so I'm just going to call the socket. Know that this socket right here is going to be connected to the horn on the inside. There's like a little nub that once it grounds itself, it's going to send electricity through the system to the horns. Horns go on, right? What I can do is I can trace the issue by using the test where it makes the noise. And so what I can do is I could trace that this socket is connected and works through, or I should say that the wire goes through into the cabin and to the hub, and there isn't an issue from the wire from the hub to the relay, and vice versa. I've heard of this before. Okay, so then there's a little knob right here. There you go. You hear the noise? The wire from the hub to the relay is good. We don't have an issue with it. Gotta shove this guy in here. What do we have? Nada. We got 0. Wow, that was on there pretty good. This is dirty. It's a little dirty. Okay, now, moment of truth. Oh, you hear that? Yes, very nice. Shh, relax, yo. Relax. I think this is windshield wiper. Cool. This is that one. Maybe this one. So, jeez, stupid wires. I know that I make sure that. Please cross your fingers. Let's get a couple in. Oh yes, that is the sound of a win. That is the sound of a win. Look at that. That's very good. That is very good signs here. So then, when we touch the hub now, if we go for this guy right here, getting continuity. Cool. And then we're going to connect this guy. We're going to install it. Bingo. Hopefully, when I press this, we have everything wired up on the horns and stuff. It's gonna work. So we got the relay in, and we have now the positive and negative on both sides of the horn. So the issue definitely was that there was a connection between the relay and the horn button. There wasn't a grounding effect on it, so therefore nothing was working, or whenever you would press the horn button, no power was getting sent to the actual horn themselves. As soon as I plug in the battery in the back, this is just to obviously test it and to demonstrate it that it actually works. Let me show it to you. We are one step closer to getting this car street legal. I'm so freaking excited, oh my god. The factory horn position would sit like right here, and this would be okay, I think, if it was a stock car, but because these horns are pretty massive, it's going to block all the airflow that this air dam is picking up and going to the radiator. What I think I'm going to do instead, wire these to go into that area over there. There's already tapped holes on this side. So what if I, do something like this? Maybe like that. The hood closes and has a clearance on it, so yeah, I mean, why not? You know? If it works, it works. Pop it open. Whoop, bam! It's like I've got two growing red mushrooms in there. Going through. So this is the power. It goes in. And measure out the length that I need to go to the horns. Go along the lines. Hey, easy tiger. Easy. So look out. Ever hurt anybody? I hate this one. I think these are like faulty or something because that's not. I mean, that's pretty ugly. Battery on. Yes.
Cool. So now that we have turn signals and horns installed, I'm able to communicate with other drivers whenever I'm on the road. Now we need to address the brake system on this 219,000 mile chassis. I opted in to go with the power slot rotors and brake pads with a whole bunch of new hardware like the Z1 stainless steel brake lines, along with just generic hardware ordered from Rock Auto. This is going to be a complete rehaul of all of the four corners. I'm really excited for it and make this thing stop on a dime.
Least favorite part, dragging up a damn car. Light year later, I really need to invest, I think, in some quick checks. Because that took probably 30 to 45 minutes. Let's get some windshield washers? These are windshield washers, you guys. Windshield washer wipers. This may seem silly, but I do need windshield wipers to pass this tech. So let's get these installed. What is this? Why is this such a tight fit? I'm not used to this high quality over here. Now look at the packaging of this. This is quite nice. Why does this sit so low and weird? What's going on here? I don't know, that's future me problem. There we go. Boom. Off the get-go, I do want to drain the brake fluid here. Ugh. Now whatever comes in here, that way it's all captured. Want to bring, there we go. Yeah, there we go.
After inspecting the brake pads, the caliper pins, the hardware, the boots, everything seemed to be in working order and there was plenty of pad life, so I don't see a reason as to why these couldn't go for another 20-30,000 miles. However, since this car does have a lot of mileage on it, I feel better if I just refresh and rehaul the entire brake system.
Oh, jeez, it is on there. What the hell? Oh, jeez. That is not. Oh, man. I didn't get too tired.
After inspecting the rears, same situation, everything looked okay and in working order, aside from just them being very dirty and rusty, especially the driver's side rear caliper. That thing looks like it's probably from the assembly line. And you'll see in a little bit, that is the one that gave me a lot of trouble.
Oh man, now it's going to be the tedious task of just cleaning all of these. I mean, I don't think these are too bad in terms of rust, but it would be good to clean them up. And now we just wait.
I wasn't really looking forward to spending 6 or 8 hours of just trying to get all this rust off, so I went and invested in a sonic cleaner that's just large enough for brake parts. I did cheat a little bit and I used the Rust-Oleum in here to see what would happen. Luckily I didn't blow up. These upcoming before and afters are letting the sonic cleaner and Rust-Oleum work in tandem, and the results are quite amazing. And I won't lie, I was definitely second guessing myself of whether or not if I should go ahead and paint all of the calipers, because Rust-Oleum does have a rust protectant to some extent. And of course, ultimately I decided I am going to paint them anyway. I decided to go with the G2 Performance Coatings epoxy-based paint. From everything that I've read is that this is the one that is the most resistant to flaking, chipping, heat, and etc. And I've tried the high temperature spray paint before, but it never seemed to hang on for more than a couple thousand miles before it started to deteriorate. My recommendation, if you do choose to go down this path in the future, is to get a better paintbrush, because this one that I went with decided to tear and unfortunately embedded itself somewhat into the paint. I did my best to try to fish them out. However, some of them I think were just permanently going to be there, and you really have to look with a really close eye to be able to see the little line. I don't know, what can I say? You live, you learn, I guess, right?
Alright, it's gonna get messy, it's gonna get everywhere, but you know what, that's alright. That's why this is fun. Ooh. Is that apply thin layer? I don't know what that means. What a thin layer means, that's not in my vocabulary. I go full send it all the time.
Now that we have everything painted, next up is going ahead and replacing all of the caliper seals with fresh pistons.
That was something else.
I messed with it and I shouldn't have.
Ooh, yucky. Look at it. It's so rusty. Ooh. Nice and chunky. Yummy, yum, yum.
You're using the same tools as a dental hygienist.
Nice. Now we take it to the wash station. Brush, brush, brush.
Yeah, this is your dental hygienist.
We're gonna lubricate it on the inside. Lubricate the lubricate. Lubricate it everywhere. Lubricate the seal. Nice and lubricated. Pop that in. Pop that in. You don't want to lubricate the seal here. Nice lubricated.
That one?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess
with the wheel.
the wheel inside of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a little top hat.
A little mushroom.
And then we're going to do the bottom portion first. Pop it in there. And then my magician fiance is going to come over here and do the rest of the job, because somehow she did this her first try, and I've been with this for like literally 4 hours, and I've been able to get it to seat.
It's like, I think the hard part is that it pulls itself out. Just stay strong where you're at.
This is like 250% time savings for me right here.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I can help.
Oh my god, thank you so much. New hotness.
Oh, that is really cool. Yeah, super clean. It's kind of sad knowing you don't get dirty one day.
Yeah, but such as cars.
Yeah, such as cars. Oh, that's cool how it fits so perfectly.
There you go.
Only life is that simple.
Copy and paste on the other side.
Nice.
Camera's right there. All right. Ooh. Disintegrated rubber seal. Here. Oh, super easy. Ooh. Not too bad. Onto the washing station.
Something that's not really visible on the camera is you do need to apply brake caliper grease onto these pins, and then as you're inserting them, you want to rotate them, and then making sure that there is actually no large goop of grease on the end of the pin.
Let go! The silver and gold. So good.
One more time.
Make it a little bit easier to install everything. I'm going to turn the steering wheel full lock to the left hand side. There we go. Front driver's side. Excellent. This is the one that we want. And a quick trick here. I'll put the lug nut on while I put the caliper bracket on. So it is a 19 millimeter, and we're going to torque it down to 75 foot-pounds of torque. Now onto these brackets. It just kind of pops in there. There we go. Go for it. 25 foot down. I think on the instruction manual it actually says like 15 foot-pounds of torque, which I don't have a torque range that goes down to 15, so I'm just gonna feel it. That feels like it's good. It really doesn't need all that much. It's about, I'll say that's it.
Copy and paste on the other side. Now jumping into the rear brackets and replacing the pins and all of the hardware with the brake calipers. This is where the driver's side rear that looked really rusty and has been there on quite some time. And it turned out that it was a seized pin. And I never really had to deal with that before. This is going to be interesting.
Coming out.
After letting it soak in Rust-Oleum for a couple of hours, I thought that maybe that would penetrate the rust and I could maybe use my body weight to try to get this thing to budge and then I can knock it out. No luck. After using the power of YouTube, I was able to figure out that you can apply some heat, a lot of heat, onto the pin and then try to get the pin to slide out. The key thing to watch out for is for any type of smoke that will start coming out of the pin itself. That's the old grease that would start to evaporate. And one thing that I was really kicking myself here for is that I had just painted these, put a fresh coat of epoxy. At the very least, I get to see how the epoxy stands up to this heat. I'm going to go on a limb here and say that this pin on the left-hand side here is the original caliper pin that has 200,000 miles on it.
Some fresh rubber boots.
I did have to reuse one of the pins from the fronts simply because the kit that I had ordered for some reason had a pin with a rubber boot, and that's not what the rear is calling for. Final part of the puzzle is rebuilding the rear calipers with fresh seals and pistons.
Come on, that actually, for being an OEM. Not too bad. See a little bit of a difference, right? Just a little bit. Let's get this here. Let's go over here. There's the trick, is you pull this back. So there's a little bit of a give right here, so just like this. A trick is once it's sealed in here, you can kind of pull back a little bit. You should see that if it wasn't sealed correctly, you would see that lower layer that just pop out. So good. Beautiful. Torque is to 75 foot-pounds of torque. There you go. Bam. Just there we go. I've already got the grease on here on both sides. Just a quick dab. Doesn't have to be too much. These are like 24 foot-pounds of torque. My torque wrench doesn't get in here. So we're just gonna go by off feel, which is about there. 25 foot-pound of torque is not much. Yay, there we go. Come on.
With everything installed in the car, the last thing we need to do is bleed the brakes. And I don't have any fancy equipment, so we did the two-person method. I recruited my fiance to help me with pressing the brake. While I open the brake bleeder screw, she presses down, and then I close it. She releases the brake to pump out all of the air that's within the lines.
Yay, it's peeing. Yep. Leaking from my piston. How is it doing that?
This is where I went wrong. I used the wrong O-ring. And I was supposed to use this guy right here. So I'm 90% positive this was the issue and why it was leaking. We're gonna replace it, put it back on, pressurize it, see if it retains all of the brake fluid. Just one other thing to note here is that there's a little lip on the seal itself that needs to be facing up towards, otherwise it's not going to seal correctly. Of course, double checking everything. Everything is pretty much dry on all the four corners. Whew. Good stuff. All right, well, lesson learned there, right, is that it's really important to pay attention to the type of seals that you're replacing and making sure that whatever it is that you took off matches what was actually in the kit. I just assumed that it was an O-ring that looked like it was the correct fit, and lo and behold, right, it was leaking right through the piston. We got that fixed. The entire brake system is now rebuilt, and before we can actually go out and do a test drive on the vehicle and bed in the brake pad calipers, we do need to address the single mass in the back that is just kind of waiting to be a loose cannon. So let's get that taken care of.
Okay, got a couple fun finishing steps to go. We can leave pads and road. Problem number one is that we have this trusty battery that's being held on by a ratchet strap at the end of the bungee cord. If you're an S13 or any S chassis enthusiast or owner, this is a rite of passage right here. If you don't do this, I have an S chassis. We do need to get this thing mounted into a position to where it doesn't just slosh around over here, cause unnecessary damage, and then worry about the cars turning off whenever the battery cable gets disconnected. Not saying that has happened, but it's not a fun time.
Trying to go after that OEM plus look and feel, and thinking about whether or not if I wanted to make a battery tray out of scratch on my own. I opted in to actually go with this bracket by Captive Plasma. It's a great piece. It fits in the area that I want the battery to sit, and I want it to look as inconspicuous as possible. And most importantly, that it doesn't move around the, high-speed twisties.
Especially when your neck hurts. supposed to go. So does this go underneath? And then this guy goes on top? Yeah, that makes sense. So it'll be like. Woo! There we go.
The one con about this kit is that you do need to drill into the chassis in order to put in rib nuts. And I recommend getting a step drill bit here to make it pretty easy. And that way that all the holes are very consistent. Not really sure what happened to my audio here, but this is how you install a rib nut. You use a little tool, you insert it into the hole, and then you squeeze with all your might. This was a workout, I must admit. Kind of embarrassed, but yeah, they are installed off camera. That I cleaned off this fuel cover because it was absolutely disgusting, and it had a whole bunch of crud on there. And why not? You know. Make it a little bit nicer.
Well, the last piece to the puzzle is here. We just got a universal kit, and it kind of, I don't know if it fits that well, but it's what we're going to go with, and I'm sure it will work fine. There we go. There we go.
All right, to summarize. In order to pass inspection, do we have turn signals? Check. Do we have a working horn? Check. Do we have brakes? Big check. And is our battery secured? Absolutely.
Let's roll her back. Woo! Boom. We're done. We're ready for street legal action. We did it. We got the car registered, titled, insured, and we are ready to rock and roll and enjoy this thing on the street without having to worry about getting pulled over, getting tickets, working turn signals, working horns, battery not floating around. So that is definitely a milestone, and I'm super freaking excited to go take this thing for a spin.
Off camera, I did follow these procedures to break in the rotors and pads.
Okay, baby, please start. Right now
much wraps up this episode. So we got the car street legal, can drive it around without having to sweat any bullets. And we also have functional items that are important to daily driving activities. There are still plenty of things to do on this car, and if you're curious to see how it turns out, stick around to find out. Thanks for watching.